Welcome, 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 everyone. The whole three people that are probably going to watch this in the 20 years that it'll be online. I don't know how that works. Anyways, this is Nate's Notes, formerly Utah Jazz basketball beat. Basically, I am a Jazz fanatic, and I just love sports in general. And I wanted to talk about some different things that I have on my mind. So it's basically just opening up this big noggin here and letting things come out. And just trying to, I end up always coming after I read articles and watch some of the, listen to some of the podcasts and watch David Locke's show and all those fun things. I always come away with a lot of questions. I post a ton of them, like some of you guys do on Twitter and other outlets, and usually no one replies. So this is my attempt to see if I can get some more people who are big Jazz fans, sports fans that love talking about different things, and getting your takes as well. So I'm taking the risk of putting my self on here and looking absolutely silly. I'll be looking at my phone. That's where I typed all my notes for the show for today. So feel free to just comment. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what you'd want to know, what you want to talk about, different subjects you like. Tell me if you like this in podcast form better than video form. I'm open to a lot of different options. So let me know what you guys think. So first thing I wanted to talk about was the Utah Jazz, what they're going to need for us to be able to rival the Warriors. We all know that it's not going to be this season. Oh, man, that's frustrating to say, that it might not be this season that we can do that. But what would it take? And what's going to have to happen on our end for that to happen? So some of the things I picked apart were specific people on our roster. You know, we know what we can expect with basically Rudy. We know what we can expect with Donovan. We hope we can expect him to at least become more efficient and get a little bit better. And you know he's got the drive to do so. We have three people specifically that I key in on that I think of. Jay Crowder, he's one. I would say Dante and Grayson. Now, the reason I bring up Jay, he was so instrumental in how well the Celtics did last year. He was a plus-minus machine, but I think he fell into some hard times with, unfortunately, the passing of his mother, getting traded like he did, kind of just shook him, to be honest. And I think being able to have some consistency is going to help. And having him, if you guys are aware at all of the statistics that came out with him and Gobert on the floor, it was like a 91 rating on defense and then like 107 rating on offense. It was insane, which was for 160 minutes. Anyways, wasn't Chris Mannix. It was Locke did it with Pelton, and Pelton basically said that that's unsustainable, which we all understand a little bit, but man, that could be exciting if we could have that. Also, Tony Jones went on with Chris Mannix on his show and talked about how the Utah Jazz are planning on having Derek Favors basically start the first 6 to 8 minutes, then coming out, and then he's going to be the backup center. So we're always going to have a rim protector on the floor at all times, which is pretty exciting for us. But some of the other players that I think are going to make a big difference, like I said, Jay is going to make a big difference. He's either going to make the team better or he's going to make us consistently the same, or I think he could really, really drive us up and make us a lot better. Dante, we all know what his potential is. I'm so tired of hearing that word is potential. But we signed on for 3 more years of his potential for it to come through. Tony Jones, I agree with him 100% on his take on Dante. This is a year that's either going to make or break him. He's either going to be a backup or a rotational player, or he's going to be a starter. So that's up to him. It's up to if he can find the fit. Some of the things that Dante needs to do, and I'd love some other takes on it. Tony had a great take on kind of the things that he needed to do to really separate himself and to take the next step. Dante needs to do a few different things. So, number one, he needs to be able to run a team. So we all see the lack of confidence that he has sometimes. He gets a little crazy with the ball sometimes, and that's also part of the other problem, I think, is being able to have really good handles. And I'm stealing some of this stuff from Tony, but I'm at least giving him credit for it. But I thought he was able to put into words what I've been struggling to figure out and be able to say for a long time. I love watching Dante, and it's really exciting, but at the same time, you definitely notice that he has a problem with his handles sometimes. He gets a little loose. He's got a lot of speed, so it can be very difficult for him to keep up with it. and hold on to that ball. To run a team, to be able to be the I don't think he has to be the alpha by any means, but he's got to be a guy who can run the team, who can look for mismatches, who can find people when he needs to, who can break down the defense. And I mean, he's got the speed to be able to break down the defense, and I think his IQ is getting there as well due to his experience. But also, let's be honest, he's had quite a lack of experience. The third guy I was talking about was going to be Grayson Allen. Now, he's not going to... heaven forbid, he doesn't have to play a ton this season, because if he does play a lot, that means Dante's slipping or there's injuries. But otherwise, I think Grayson is in an awesome position for our team. He's going to be a player who is, was taught for 4 years under Coach K. If you've watched any of his interviews, he's got an extremely high IQ, basketball IQ, very smart person, breaking down all the plays. He loves to watch film. He's got all the indicators that say he's going to be strong, a strong NBA player that's ready to plug and play right now, basically. So all he needs is the minutes to shine. But what I was thinking, and the reason I bring up these specific individuals, is we know where we're at currently. We know how good we were last year. So the only way we're going to get better was with internal improvement, since we decided to run it back again this year, right? So those three players had the biggest potential to change our situation, I think. So Jay, Dante, and Grayson. Now, the other discussion for another show would be the cherry on top, which is the exciting part, is thinking about either potentially next year's free agency for 2019, or thinking about the deadline. And on that podcast I mentioned that Tony did recently, he had a great point that actually Chris Mannix had a great point, that he said, granted Derek Favors' contract was a decent size, but we all know the reason for that, and the reason for that was so that everyone was on board with how many minutes Derek was going to play and how he was going to be used with the Jazz. But you think about it as well, there are going to be other teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, like last year, who, after running into some injuries and realizing they weren't going to make the playoffs, they wanted to get a good draft pick. So they ended up benching Marc Gasol, right? They looked at moving him a lot. We have a piece now with Derek Favors and a lot of other one-year contracts that a lot of teams are going to really want, because they're going to want to be prepared for the 2019 free agency, where there's going to be more. I think this year there was over 50 contracts that were signed for one-year deals. So there's going to be just an insane amount of players available when it comes to the free agency of next year. So you think about all the contracts. Are they movable? Are they, Dante's movable still? I know several teams, not personally, because I'm not an insider, but I feel Dante's contract is very movable. Also, one thing about Dante's contract that doesn't get mentioned enough, I think it was that we all were first told that it was for $12 million, which is what it is if he meets all of his bonuses and things like that he can earn to up his pay. Otherwise, I think it's like 10.8 or 10.9 million, which is still a lot, and probably more than most people would pay him. But at the same time, the Jazz, I would trust the Jazz if I had to put money on it to develop him. And that's another thing that I want to talk about eventually, is our internal development, and learn more about that and write an article on it, because I find it fascinating how everybody who comes through Utah, to revive their career, or, George Hill is a great example. I'm slipping on a few others, but people who have come here, who have gotten better, who have played to the best of their ability, and then gone on to earn another contract somewhere or continue around the league. And I think we all see that in trying to learn how that happens and why the Jazz are so good at it, as well as we all saw how Tony Bradley in Summer League here has gotten so much better, and same with George Niang. He has gotten so much better. Tony Jones also mentioned how how George Niang didn't look like potentially an NBA player when he came to the Jazz, but with all the work that he's put in. Now, number one, I think you need to congratulate the athlete for actually doing it, but number two, you got to give the organization mad props for being able to actually give him the tools to be able to do that, and knowing how to actually do that. And I remember, a couple years ago, before we lost that one guy, how it was a Dennis Lindsay talked about trying to create any edge, any competitive edge that we can, and our player development was our program and development program was basically one of the biggest pieces that we can add to attract players and to keep players. So I think that's the other thing, is not just attracting players, but keeping the players we have. And I think we've done an excellent job as an organization doing that so far. I'm going to stop beating a dead horse. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was Donovan's commercial. I thought Donovan's commercial, it was pretty fantastic. It's pretty entertaining. I'd have to say thank yous to James Liu, who is on Locked On Jazz network on the discussion board. He's the one who posted it, so I wanted to say thank you to him. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that video, and it's Donovan's new commercial, which I thought was pretty interesting and pretty fun. I think it's for like NBA 2K or something like that, so I'll go ahead and get that started. 1 second. Here it is.
Wake up, Brooke. Big game today. He's bringing A game, son. Let's go. She got me dancing. Nigga clap. Take the limousine. Another beat on the dance. Make people scream.
Thought it was weird watching this where he's in Vegas rolling around and we're supposedly at the Jazz facility. That doesn't look like Derek Favors, and that looks like a weird Ricky Rubio. Coach Q's changed. There's Dono. How amazing did it feel that we crushed the Thunder?
Hey, rookie. Stop dreaming. Get your head back in the game.
Oh, brick. Oh, it's amazing. Crowd goes wild. I thought that was pretty fun to watch, though. To see our guy, we don't get to see very many of those guys in the Utah Jazz, besides like Purple Mattress commercials and things like that with Joe Ingles and Gordon Hayward. So I was pretty happy to see Donovan get all the attention he's getting. It's been pretty exciting watching him over the summer. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. If there's any questions, please leave them below. Feel free to follow me at LILBAX. I guess this is apparently, let's point the other way. That is what we call this show, Nate's Notes, since I had that made. If there's any questions, let me know. I appreciate your comments, and have a good one. We'll see you on the next one.